country and a great concern for where we are headed in the direction that we find ourselves in. And I love Mark and Pam. They're a great family, and I feel like they're part of my family now. I also would like to take an opportunity and thank Laura Lee for inviting me and for inviting the opportunity for allowing us to debut this documentary, episode 1 here. It has been amazing to be on the road, traveling across this country with this documentary series, and to meet wonderful people like you. You know, in the beginning it was quite different and difficult after Lavoie was murdered. Our family wasn't so certain about the people in America and whether or not there were those who valued life, the First Amendment, the ability to be able to speak your mind. We were, you know, we had to have bodyguards. The hate mail, the comments from the press labeling us terrorists and sovereign citizens, alt-right, etc., etc. You heard the list from Mark. They then began to label myself and all of my children the same. And everywhere we went, we were faced with hate. And I was beginning to wonder if there was anyone that felt the way my husband did. But I have gotten to know so many wonderful Americans across this country who love this country just as much as my husband did and are doing what they can do in their own circle of influence. And I am so grateful to know that. I am so grateful to have that peace of mind and to know that you all love me and love my family and that you love my husband. Because it has brought great comfort to know those things. In the midst of all that was going on, right after the funeral, we realized real quickly, our family, that we had to take back control of the narrative of what they were, how they were describing my husband and what they were saying and what words they were using. We knew that we had to take back control of our lives because it was spinning out of control and everybody else was like pulling at us, you know, their agendas, come here, come there, do this, do that, do this interview, do that interview, do da-da-da-da. And I'm not one that takes real easy to somebody telling me what to do. Just ask Lavoie. He would tell you the same. But he liked that about me, and I like that about him. So our family got together shortly after the funeral, and we decided that we needed to have a mission statement so that we could stay focused on what our family was going to do and how we were going to represent ourselves and what messages that we wanted to continue to talk about. And of course they included what Lavoie was standing for. And this is what myself and my 12 children and their spouses came up with. I keep the light on my phone. We, the Finicum family, seeking to better understand, maintain, and defend our God-given rights to further our eternal happiness, will virtuously let our voices be heard, educating on the principles of the Constitution, and our testimonies be seen for personal property rights, liberty, and freedom, and one that has become even more near and dear to us as of late, the importance of life. And so with that, our family has continued to try to stay focused in those areas. And part of my mission has been to be the guardian and the keeper of my husband's good name. That has been very important to me because he was a man of great courage and enormous integrity. I never had to question him, not 1 minute. If he said something, it was so. And and I'm proud of him. I'm so enormously proud of him and the stand that he took for each and every one of us. I'm grateful to be his wife, that I have that eternal perspective that I will be with him again someday, that our whole family will be together again someday. So that has been my mission, to kind of bring to you, through this documentary series, who LaVoy was, what he was standing for, and why he went to Malheur. And isn't it wonderful that he left me with so much video? You know, he can speak for himself. He has his day in court. He was not afforded the due process in our legal system. He was murdered without cause, without warrant, without reason. Because he was speaking his mind, because he was verbally a threat to those voices and those people who found him to be so, that they had to eliminate him, and all those who were standing alongside of him by putting them in prison and imprisoning them without due process for all those days, for the horrendous things that they went through behind those bars. I'm grateful to be here and to be able to bring you LaVoy. I hope that as we continue this journey that you will continue it with us, that you will come and see episode 2 and episode 3. And I think because it's getting so long, there's probably going to be an episode 4. Because the story, as Mark would say, is so epic. You can't squeeze it all in. And if you leave something out, you really don't get the full picture. And so I hope that you will continue. And what's even more exciting is part 3 in his series. Part 1 was the Bunkerville, part 2 is LaVoy, part 3 is the trials. There will be 4 episodes in reference to the trials. Episode 1 will be about Oregon, episode 2 will be about Nevada trials, episode 3 will be the trials in reference to the FBI agent who was indicted by a grand jury for lying and obstruction of justice. And episode 4 will be about my wrongful death lawsuit against the government. And so I hope that you will stay tuned for all of those informational documentaries, because it will be the truth coming to you, unlike other sources that might be out there. Again, I'm grateful for Mark and his family and his company in bringing this for all of us, because it's so important that we have the truth. That brings me to my experience just as of late in sitting in Oregon for that FBI trial in August. I believe it was August or July and August. My days are smushed together. So I spent 4 weeks with my attorney and Mark and a few others. Great supporters throughout the country came to witness for themselves this trial. And it was quite apparent from the very beginning that this officer was not going to be held accountable for his obstruction of justice and his lying. But we felt it was really important that we were there to witness it for ourselves and to glean whatever information we could possibly get from sitting there. And it was very, very, very helpful. The judge was biased. He gave an opening statement which he spoke for a good 5 to 10 minutes in reference to LaVoy Finicum. Let me remind you, as he did the jury, that the trial is not about LaVoy Finicum. It's about this officer that was standing in reference to lying and obstruction of justice. But he had to prime the jurors. He had to give his opening statement in reference to LaVoy being an armed terrorist and that his killing was justified. And we knew that even before that opening statement that this trial was doomed, because they didn't allow the public in to witness the jury selection. We weren't there to witness the questioning of the jurors. So it went on from there that every single day that they brought another officer in, that their first questions were, did you consider LaVoy Finicum to be armed and dangerous? Did you consider LaVoy Finicum to be armed and dangerous? And again, I remind you that this trial was not about LaVoy Finicum. This trial was about the FBI agent who was indicted for lying and obstruction of justice. But again, they had to set the stage for the jurors to not want to hold this officer accountable for the illegal activities he was involved in. We were able to glean a lot of evidence that was coming forth in reference to the testimony that these different officers and experts were giving. It was quite interesting to find out that at the very first stop, they were in compliance, as testified to by an FBI agent. They were issuing them commands and they were complying. But then an Oregon State police officer fired a lethal round at the vehicle, which then escalated it from that point, which was also testified by an FBI agent, that single act escalated the whole incident. It escalated it to the point where the people in that vehicle felt unsafe, and again, my husband felt like he was being bullied. And they wanted to go somewhere that they felt that they could be treated with fairness. And that was to the sheriff in the next county, and that is verbally what he was saying in that vehicle, that I'm going to the sheriff in the next county, and if you want to arrest me, you can arrest me there. And as they left that stop, it was testified to in court that Officer 1 of the Oregon State Police then radioed ahead to Officer 2 saying, "We're going to have to kill Finicum."
Wow.
That was testified to in this FBI trial by agents. So they already had in mind to kill him at the first stop. No warrant, no due process, murder. And as he came around that blind man's curve and could see what was ahead, he began braking. And it was testified to that he began braking and reduced his speed from 75 miles an hour to 55 before plowing into the snow. You've got to understand, it was like 8 to 9 seconds for reaction time. And all the while he's being fired upon, and as he's exiting the truck, he's being fired upon again, and then he's murdered with 3 bullets to the back by Oregon State Police Officer number 1 and number 2. This should not happen in America. We have the process that we have for a reason, so that the innocent aren't murdered or hung. We need to step back and we need to reevaluate this, and we need to change what is happening. And it is our responsibility to do so. The founders left it that way for you and I to be the ones to make the difference, to hold the governing accountable. We need to push back on the regulations that are there. We need to have reform in our police departments, in their training. There is much work for us to do, and we don't have any time. So it's going to take all of us, collectively, unitedly, to help bring about change. I don't ever really have anything planned to say. I just kind of start talking in reference to how the Spirit moves me. And I was just jotting down some notes. You know, I read an article last night that was rather negative about this event. It was horrible. And Mark really covered it well. Didn't he not? He covered it well. But I just wanted to add along with Mark, all of the irresponsible things that they were saying in that article. One that is an outright lie, and I'm not afraid to say that it is an outright lie, was, quote, that he threatened federal agents at gunpoint. Lie. There were no guns drawn, and let me repeat, no guns drawn by anyone that were in those two vehicles that were pulled over. No one pulled a gun. The only guns pointed were the federal officers and the Oregon State Police officers. They were the ones pointing the guns. Media, you need to be responsible. Check your facts. Please report the facts. The American people want to believe in our media. You're an important part of the system that we have, free speech, the reporting of the truth, the facts, so that people can discern for themselves what they want to think and believe. It's not your responsibility to tell us how to think and believe. So I implore you to speak the truth and not your opinion, so that we can then move forward with doing what we need to do. Because we're not mindless drones, as much as everybody would like to think that we are, that we can't think for ourselves, because we can. We're intelligent human beings. And I want to be treated as such. I don't want to be treated with disrespect and thinking that I'm going to swallow whatever you give me, because I will not. I will do my own investigating. I will do my own research, because I cannot trust this arm of our system, the media. I applaud the media that is taking responsibility, that is reporting the facts unbiasedly. I appreciate that. We need more of you. Thank you. I want to say that I support and I am so appreciative of law enforcement who serve every day. I have law enforcement members in my family, and I'm grateful for the service that they render, each and every one of us. It is a hard job, and I wouldn't want it. I'm grateful for the people that are good and that are trying to follow the law in the FBI. I know that there are good men and women that serve in both of those agencies. I know that there are good men and women that are trying to stand up and do what's right, like Larry Wooten of BLM, the law enforcement investigator. He was a whistleblower who stood up in the face of incredible odds to do what was right, so that the Bundys and everybody that was in jail could be set free with the truth. The truth, people. I wish that there had been a Larry Wooten for my husband. But I think that we will get one in our trial and in our wrongful death case. I have faith. I remember those words that my husband gave me before I left. To have faith, to take courage, that God is in charge in all things. And I'm grateful for that. You know, when we sat and gave the pledge, we talked about liberty for all. That's what this United States is about. It's not about select groups. One group versus another. That's not what was intended in this America. And I'm sick of the media continuing to slice and dice us up into different groups, pitting one against the other with such hate and disdain. It is not acceptable anymore. My husband, when being interviewed multiple times, in one in particular interview, he said, "Freedom is colorblind." That is true. God doesn't see color. happy story, because this can be really overwhelming and very hard and heavy. I want to talk to you about the time that I met LaVoy and how we first met. I was about 32, I think, maybe 33, right around there. And yes, I was older than LaVoy, and he loved to tell everybody that. But only by 6 months, so hey, it wasn't a whole lot. But it was a church singles dance in St. George, Utah. And it was back in the time when you could do line dancing, and us ladies didn't need a partner, and that was really good because most of the men just sat in their chair or held up the wall, right? Isn't that what they do at these dances? But in walks this gorgeous cowboy, and I still see him that way. Every time I see him on the screen, I think, oh, what a handsome man. And in my mind's eye, I can see him walking along the wall, and then in front, and he sits up on the stage, and he's just sitting there watching us girls dance. And I'm thinking, boy, I hope he asks me to dance. One of the women must have got tired of doing line dancing because she'd then organized us into a barn dance where we were all in a big circle. And then they put a young man in front of each one of us girls. And LaVoy ended up in front of the young lady right next to me, and I'm going, oh man, he's never going to make it all the way around back to me before that music ends. So I was kind of sad about that. But God had something else in mind, because when the song ended, he was standing right in front of me. The music ended, and I was going, uh-oh. But he said, would you like to dance? And I said, you bet. I'm not letting this guy get away with the dance. Anyways, so we danced that slow dance, and it was really sweet. And then the next song that came on was a fast dance. And I got brave, and like I said, I didn't want him to get away. So I said, would you like to dance this dance? And he said, oh no. He says, I have no rhythm. You don't want me to dance this dance with you. And I said, oh, come on, you're just being chicken. And he said, no, really, I have no rhythm. But I'll tell you what, if you can tell me how many kids I have, I'll dance this next dance with you. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck am I going to guess how many kids you have when I don't know your name? This is going to be hard. But God had something else in mind, because I said 6. And he went, that's right. And I went, oh, 6 kids? I went, oh my goodness, you are definitely the package deal, not me. You know, and so then we kind of just giggled and laughed, and we danced, and then, oh my goodness, he had no rhythm. He was like that character Urkel, you know, just kind of quirky, and it was terrible. We laughed and thought that was funny. And then we sat up on the stage and just visited for a while until some other young man asked me to dance, and then I was gone the rest of the night. And I thought, oh God, he never asked me to dance again. But when we were picking up all the chairs and putting things away, he came up to me and he says, would you mind giving me a ride to my truck? And I said, where's your truck? And he said, well, I got a flat tire. And I said, a flat tire? And I said, how'd you get here? And he says, well, I walked. And I said, well, okay, I'll give you a ride to your truck. I still don't know his name. So I did. I gave him a ride to his truck, and sure enough, he had a huge flat tire. And 14 days later, we were married. 26 years, 25 years, very happily married. He had 6 children, I had 3. We had one together, that little Tian that you saw in the film. And we did therapeutic foster care for teenage boys for the state of Arizona for 18 years. And we fell in love with 2 and adopted them. So we have 12 children altogether. I have 26 grandkids with 5 on the way. And some will be born this year, some right after the first of the year. So that'll be 31. That's a lot. But they're a joy. They're an absolute joy to have so many young people running around. You know, I wonder if my daughters just, I mean, I joke about this because they all have them in batches. Like for 2 years in a row, we've had 6, 6, 5, and now 6 again. And it's like they must get on the phone and go, ready, set, go. But it's so sweet because can you imagine how much fun all those cousins are going to have with each other? So I just wanted to kind of end this with something sweet and memorable and lovely. My wonderful memories of him are joyous, and I'm grateful for them. I want to be able to open up, I don't know how much time I have, about 5 minutes or so for questions. If anybody has a question, I'd be glad to answer it.
And here's the Q&A mic right here.
And I'm good with not taking questions. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about your wrongful death suit. What's happening and when's that going to happen?
Okay, yes, we have filed the complaint. It is complete. We are dealing with the motions to dismiss. My attorney has said that we will be finished with all those motions, the bantering back and forth, by February. We will begin the discovery process, and that will take 8 to 10 months, and then we're set for trial probably the beginning of 2020. That was what was outlined by the judge thus far. That is the schedule. Discovery is going to be enormous. We're needing experts, professionals to help go through all of the 8 terabytes plus of information, and so there's a lot of work to be done. That kind of brings you up to date on that. Yes, sir?
What happened to Agent Wooten?
Larry Wooten, who was the special investigator for the BLM Law Enforcement Division, is what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ammon. But I believe that they went in and they raided his home, his office, they took his computer, they took all the information of the reports that he had investigated, and that's what forced him into releasing the 14-page whistleblowing letter. I'm not sure what his status is at this time. I don't know if he's on leave of absence or if he quit or whatever, but I can imagine that he went through a great deal of ostracization.
They transferred him out east.
So he's still working with the BLM Law Enforcement Investigative Division. Okay. Thank you.
Interior.
Okay.
He's in Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Can you tell me who they is that raided him?
I believe it was his superior officers were taking the information because
So the Bureau of Land Management raided one of their own agents?
the investigative department, yes. You have all the different departments within the BLM, yes. It was kind of a good old boy system. They didn't want the information to get out. They were just willing to continually sweep it under the rug. Dan Love, I do not understand how that man got away with so much lawlessness. We have to find a way to hold these agents that are in these positions accountable for the laws that they break. It's not acceptable. If they were in the private sector, they would be fired without retirement. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us, is your lawsuit in a state court or in federal court? And if in state, what state is it being filed in?
It will be in Oregon State Federal Court.
State federal court?
Federal Court.
Okay. Okay, so it's in the state of Oregon, in the federal, in the court. Okay. She's in trouble.
Well, thank you.